All right, this has been like a multi-take today. It's been kind of funny. Vic's actually leaving in 20 minutes, and so we might continue this on after it. But today we're going to talk about the demon function, which, if you look at John Beebe's model or Carl Jung's model, is the eighth function in the very bottom. Typically speaking, the demon function is usually referred to in a negative sense. So usually what makes you angry, once you lash out and want to attack people. It's also used in a form of indifference, a form of something you just don't care about, you're unaware of, and a lot of everything I just said, in a way, it has its truthiness to it. But I think through development of your demon function, it can be just something more positive. And I think, would you guys agree with that?
That is something I've always wondered is like we all know demon can be bad and it can become good, but how do we control or harness our inner demon so that we can use it for good? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think the best way, I can use myself a little bit anecdotal thing about this with SE
Hmm.
Demon myself, being an EMP. And so with SE Demon itself, my father was an ESFP. And so I
Oh,
was raised to be obviously a blue collar worker, someone that uses their hands and knows how to do things. My mother was ISFJ, so very traditional. Both my parents are pretty traditional. Obviously, both Jehovah's Witnesses as well. Both of them grew up on farms. And so men were supposed to be able to build and do work. Now, granted, I did learn a lot of things from them, and I'm grateful for that. But if you compare me to my ISTP brother, there's no comparison. And so he was obviously always better at like the roofing skills. He can do carpentry. He can pretty much learn to do whatever he wanted to build a house from scratch, no problem. With myself, I always struggled with understanding the purpose of why I would do it in the first place. I don't understand why it was so important to do these kind of things. And so when I learned roofing, I learned the bare minimums of what I had to get by, which is typically a movement thing anyways. And so it's kind of like, well, what do I need to know, to do this job? What do I need to know to get by? And so when you talk about SE, of wanting to create something that everyone else can enjoy, it was irrelevant to me to be the best roofer, to be the best carpenter, to be the best welder. My brother was really good at welding. I tried to get into welding. I thought I was pretty good. I mean, I wasn't as good as him, but I did learn. And so now we're talking to SE Demon. I'm like, I already switched to myself. Look at you. Look what you did to me. You make me look selfish. And so when you're referring to like the SE Demon, since we're already on that subject, we might as well keep going with it. Uh, Katrina and I were talking about there's also different expectations for men and women. And so can you add in what you think? You heard what I just told you, like a gist of what SE Demon was expected to do as a man, especially from a blue collar family. Well, how, as a woman, would you be pressured to be more SE?
Well, I mean, I think that you would be hard pressed to find a woman who doesn't care about her appearance at all, which of course, there's some, but I think that we're conditioned to like care, to like put some kind of value on that. Growing up in the environment I grew up in, I was into acting and performing. My mom worked as a talent agent, and represented actors, models, so I took all the classes. I knew how to do things. And really, I mean, SI can learn them really, really well. When they're applying themselves. So it's really just knowing, how to do things. That part really wasn't that hard. But I guess really, there's also, you still go back to sort of like your comfort zone, and something's always going to be a little bit challenging, or you're going to be a little bit oblivious. I'll give you, I guess, a concrete example of this. So in Texas, it's really hot. And so I refuse to wear long pants whenever it's over 80 degrees outside. And so I had this one blue jean skirt in my closet that, I loved it because it's kind of a neutral piece of clothing. I could just switch out the top and wear the skirt all the time. And I would wear the skirt like 3 or 4 times a week. And my mom and my sister were like, because my mom bought me nice clothes. She did my shopping until like, my second year of college. And, she would just pick out like really nice stuff. And I would wear this skirt all the time. And one day my mom was just like, you've got to stop wearing the skirt. And my sister was joining in. And, one day the skirt just disappeared and my mom would not tell me where it was, so there's
At a
just
Goodwill.
like things like that I was just like, the skirt works. It's comfortable,
I get it.
Why
Will you be willing to share what your mom helped you with, or is that personal? You told me about it.
Oh, well, like she did, I guess, picked out my clothes. Like she just loved to shop, but she was really good at like getting the deals. So we would go to like stores and, it's funny because the salespeople knew who we were.
Is your mom an ESFP?
I think so. I think she was. Yeah.
She sounds
So
like one, and I've always had ESFP friends growing up that would help me because they knew I was oblivious as well. And I had no problem with my friends dressing me up. They did my hair, all those kind of things.
Well,
These are
like
male straight friends too.
I felt like her little mannequin, and there was even a point in junior high, she would like do my makeup every day before school in junior high. Okay. So, well, that was like 6th grade, but then I started doing it myself. I took some modeling classes and I was like, ooh, I got the hang of this, but, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it does influence what you value, but yeah, I mean, if I looked frumpy, she would point it out. Or, I remember getting ready and her and my sister would just gang up on me. And I thought it was funny because I like to be teased a lot. And so I think my sister is like an ESFJ, but, there's a bit of overlap because they do have like an SFP side to them. But she actually became a fashion major in college. But they used to like, I would be dressed ready to go back to school and my mom would be like, just go show your sister what you're wearing one more time. And I'm like, what's wrong with it? And she's like, just go show her one more time. And they would.
Or your sister has FE critic though. She's going to view a lot in a way meaner than an ESFP. ESFPs are usually pretty nice about the way they help others.
No, but it would just be, it was fun. I mean, because I wasn't like hurt by it at all. I just sort of, I'm just unique. I'm just me, and I mean, also to an extent, there's some benefits to just not caring. And I guess being willing to be a little bit different. Cause I remember one time I was on this church retreat and we somehow ended up at the mall. I don't know why we were at the mall, I guess getting lunch or whatever, but there was this little shop that had these pants that had these polka dots on them and they were all different colors. The polka dots were like that big, okay, on the pants, and the girls were making fun of them. And I was like, I'm going to go try them on. And so I try them on and I try on the hot pink polka dot pants and I decided I'm going to get these. And I'm going to wear them, so I bought the pants and then I waited a couple of months and I wore them to school and totally rocked them, so there's like that side of me that just doesn't care. I'm just going to throw it back in your face.
That's so funny you mentioned that because I did the same stuff in school too. Because people are like, "Oh my God, that looks so stupid." Oh, good, I'm gonna wear it every day. And even, and that's just goes back to the demon function where you like, it's almost like, "Oh, I'm gonna throw it in your face." Some people might fit as being angry or embittered, but not really. It's more or less, let me show you how stupid you're acting. And when it came to golf, we went to golf competitions in Tennessee. I wear knickers. And everybody hated it because most people are like, you can't wear knickers are so stupid. You got to wear shorts or pants, you know, and they're like, you know, all SP on me. No offense. And, and I was like wearing knickers. I had like a couple different pairs, and I had like these bright orange ones with black all over their checkers. And so that's so funny you mentioned that, because in the early 90s, when they were like MC Hammer pants were kind of in, but a lot of people loved and hated them. I wore like the craziest clothes possible. And
Right.
and so like I had like fluorescent pink and orange and green, just like
I like
crazy
bright
pink.
colors too. Yeah.
All right. And so you've been quiet, Vic. You gotta chime in.
All right.
Any
Have you
demon,
noticed
let's
this?
go.
Have you noticed this with SE demons in your life? Did you have this draw? You need to help them.
I don't know. I gotta think about this.
Got to think about it.
Because like SC Hero, I guess I see everything, but I don't care either at the same
Do you
time.
remember kids like us in school?
Yeah, I've seen kids dress weird, and I'm just like, okay, all right, whatever you guys want to wear.
Yeah, that's why I was bringing it up, because like ESFPs typically are a lot nicer about it, and they're like gonna want, let me help you out. You know, you should do your hair like this, your hair straight. You know, and like
Well, I'll give an example. Like about 10 years ago, wow, time flies. I was in a relationship with an INFP girl. Right. Well, my wife right now, she's probably an INFJ, but this girl way back when, you know, beautiful girl. Like we went to church and she wore this really nice black dress, but this really ugly light beige shoes. And I'm just like, why don't you try this shoes instead? And then she's like, okay. And what's wrong with these ones? I'm like, it doesn't match with your outfit. And so she put on these really nice, cute, I think they were like black shoes or sandals or something. And then everybody was complimenting her in church that day. Wow, you look so great.
That's the cool
So-
thing about MPs is we love that, and that doesn't bother us. I'm telling all four
Yeah.
MPs have no problem being told how to dress in a lot of ways. I mean, in a nice way. You know, obviously you can't go too far with, you know, no, you can't do this at all. But like, hey, you look better in that red shirt. Really?
That's what I
Okay.
did. Like, that's what I did with her fashion. I told her, okay, why don't you try this on? This will match with this. And she rocked it. And I'm like, yeah, fashion guru. Even though I'm not a fashion guy at all.
And we can see this, we'll correlate this while we still have you here, so we'll switch to ESFPs real quick. And we brought up the male and female stuff. This is my work, sorry. And so you have the negative stereotypes of ESFP. You see the club hopping Jezebel type girls, you know, that's the stereotype ESFP. Men don't necessarily fall in that stereotype, like at all.
See, with ESFPs, it'll vary though, because there's ESFPs that really care about the fashion and the trends and their appearances, and there's others that'll wear sweatpants in the store and don't care at all.
Yeah,
And I'm in that other category. I just dress up whatever. I know how I look, and I'm just like, I don't care. I'll just wear this, and just because I can.
What I was getting at when you're talking about what people value, and you're dealing with TE Child, for instance, and when you want to be valued in the community for something that's respected and liked. A woman ESFP, female ESFP, might have a lot more pressure to make sure her eyes are always done, make sure her face is always done, make sure she's always wearing the latest dress, everything like that, because it's going to get her respect. It's going to get her recognition. And so you see them falling in this trap of not seeing the consequences for their actions, but then they might go too far and then start wearing clothes that give them the reputation of maybe being a woman with loose morals or whatever. And any demon didn't warn them of the potentials. If I do this, this is going to happen. Okay. And so I've noticed that with the female ESFPs and any demon in that case, where they are a moral woman because she has FI parent. She definitely has a code of honor. She definitely has a moral compass that she follows and things like that. But she might go over the top of saying, oh, Nicki Minaj wears this. I want to be like her. I want to have status like Nicki Minaj. And then you wear this kind of stuff and they're like, oh, you have the morals like Nicki Minaj. Not necessarily. Because any demon couldn't see it. And so that's just one thing I've noticed. And like when I talk to my SP friends, I was just like, well, if you do this, this is going to happen. You know that, right? And they're like, well, how do you know that? I don't necessarily know it for a fact. And he doesn't work that way. But going through every step by step of what is probably going to happen, this is what's going to happen. And it definitely was a very frustrating thing when I was trying to help friends with any demon, and they just, you know, really have a rough time with life in some ways. And especially when you care about the people, you know, and you see it over and over again. And just make a little bit more light jest is like my male ESFP students. Actually, my female ESFP students do the same thing too, where they want the class to end because they don't want to be there. I get that. I don't want to be there either. And so it's just like, but we have to finish the class and then we can go do other things. And so right around 18 minutes in, the ADD SE hero starts kicking in, and they start lashing out, you know, and resisting. And the class only would have lasted 25 minutes, but now it's 27 minutes because of what you did, because you acted out in the moment and you didn't see the consequences of your actions.
I deal with that with my 6-year-old, and like, she doesn't learn from her mistakes. Like, if I do this, this is going to happen. And so it takes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard to watch.
Could use a lot more of it, but yeah, it's really trying, because you're like, okay, how do you not know by now this is going to play out this way?
This time it might be different.
I'll give
right?
I'll give my take on any demon.
Okay, go ahead.
Any demon, I guess any is exploring the possibilities, right? And so in the demon mode, it's expecting the worst out of everyone. And so my wife always nags at me saying, I'm not your enemy. Stop seeing people as coming after you. And I kind of assumed the worst intentions with people. And I've been trying to work on that a lot more. You know, trying to trust people more, trying to see other people's perspectives, because it's hard. Sometimes I will just get set in how I want to do things. And it's like, come on, Vic, you need to open up and see why they're doing it this way and that way. Not just with things, but why people do things. And
yeah,
that's how
I deal with that with the ENTJ. There's a lot of similarities between ESFPs and ENTJs, by the way. They both have pessimistic.
They have each other's subconscious, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And I'm like, I don't think that's their intentions. I'm always telling that to them, but I'm optimistic in E. And so I'm just like, well, you got to think better of people. And if your wife is indeed an INFJ, she also has optimistic in E, even though it's a nemesis.
How does that manifest?
The nemesis was optimistic, is it?
Yeah.
Optimistic,
pessimistic.
Okay.
Well, that explains a lot. She always tells me, you got to see the possibilities. You got to trust people more and not make them not think that they're all going to come after you. And I could tell you guys stories about bad things that's happened to me with people. And then my wife would be like, yeah, but maybe there's a reason. Maybe they were trying to help you. And I'm kind of blind to that, I guess, the demon.
So, yeah, but you also have SI nemesis too. And she's got SI demon in herself. And so unless that happened to her, she's going to say there's these possibilities and things like that. We're getting the SI demon now at this point. And so when you're dealing with SI demon and it happens to them, dear God, you got the door slammed forever. But that's a different story. But that's interesting to talk about that. And the demon function is funny because you see this in the people you love. You see this people in your friends. You see it in yourself even. And you want to change it, but only in some ways can you really improve it. And you're never going to be good at it. And that's something that's frustrating. I think you can manage, you can get by. Like I think growing up, having SP friends, if one of the benefits of being a Jehovah's Witness was I had a selected amount of friends chosen for me because they all had to come from the church. I think if I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, I probably would have befriended a bunch of NPs. And I never would have worked on those functions. Does that make sense? And so I had to learn to play football. I had to learn to skateboard. I had to learn to do construction. I had to learn to do all these kind of things that you're naturally not if you meet other NPs, they usually can't do them at all. They suck at them. But to me, it was kind of like I was able to do it. And like she mentioned, SI can be taught. And so when I learned to play golf, for instance, I just watched YouTube videos of instruction over and over again and emulated what they did. It wasn't necessarily about me creating my own golf swing. It was just about following instructions. And then in the end, that served my benefit because I just did it the right way. And so I learned how to play the bass guitar, for instance, from reading books and being instructed on how to play the guitar. We can learn to play music. We can learn to dance. We can learn to perform, but we have to be taught.
Absolutely.
Well, ESFP's guitars I've met, and plenty of every SP guitars, this includes SJs too, can pick up an instrument and learn.
Crazy.
Yep.
And I watched my brother teach himself how to play the piano. He's an ISTP. I can't do that. I have to be taught. And while there is benefits to being able to just pick up an instrument and figuring it out, blah, 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 I'm hella good. If I can count how many lead guitarists I knew in the music industry when I was, working in a full-time who were self-taught, took no classes whatsoever, but they were doing it for a living. I mean, there was tons of them. There are benefits to being able to do that, but if you want to do something, I guess I don't want to use the word the right way, but that's kind of like SI thing. I wonder how many of the violinists in the orchestra, for instance, are SI users and not SPs.
I bet like almost
Most of
2/3 of them.
2/3 of
My
you.
husband played the violin. So.
There you
I
go.
play.
And so violin's not really a cool instrument that someone wants to pick up and like, look how good I am at the violin,
Hey.
And so like, this like come with the reputation, the status, and that's not what everyone's doing, And so the SPs are usually going to reject it. But if you think about it, like she had mentioned, I played the violin. I love the violin and I would love to learn to play it, but obviously I'd have to be taught. So yeah.
I can teach you. I play violin.
Do you play violin?
Yeah.
Was that your
I played-
choice or were you forced to?
No, it was my choice when I was in grade 2.
Okay.
I know, right? It's like, why'd you pick the violin? Well, I'll tell you guys. So in grade 2, we had an assembly, and there was this like bluegrass group that came to play, and I was like, this is so cool playing the violin and the way they're fiddling, and I'm like, I want to learn how to play that and do that. And then it wasn't until grade 5 that I had the opportunity to learn. I grew up poor with my family, poor Latino family. And I was already taking piano lessons. And my dad is like, why do you want to take violin? You're already learning the piano. I'm like, it's fun. I want to try it. And, okay. And also in my family, my cousins, like, I think he's an ENFP cousin who likes to show off on the piano and play a lot of cool songs. And so I'm like, if I compete head to head with him, I'm going to lose. So if I pick up the violin and start playing, then I have a new audience.
You kept assessing the situation, what everyone else was doing. That's funny. Well, he's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing this. If I do this, I might have more status in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe that is a T-child thing, because I've kind of made decisions based on wanting to be different or,
Interesting.
be unique. Yeah.
I just always was different and unique and didn't try. And so it was just always like, that's just Matt. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was accused of that on many occasions of, oh, you're just trying to show off. You're trying to do this kind of stuff. And I was just like, I don't really care about that. But we'll do a trickster function on another day. And so that's interesting about that. How much time do you have? What's 10:04 right now?
I'm going to keep going until my wife comes in and says,
so pragmatic.
time for breakfast. I know.
Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness.
Yeah. I know she always nags at me like, you need to check in with me. You need to tell me what you're going to do. And I'm like, why? It's a lot of, like, I guess the most pragmatic thing I've done this year was wanting to get an MBA, and I signed up for the program, paid the deposit fee. And then I told my wife about it. And then let's just say the cow dung hit the fan. And it's just like, why do you want to do an MBA? And I'm like, so I can learn how to start my own business. And she's like, you don't need an MBA. And I guess that ties in with the any demon is that I have in my head here, I want to get a master's. I want to learn this business stuff, get a good education. And then I guess her optimistic any is like, yeah, but you can look up books, you can go to Google, you can search up how to start a business. And I'm like, that's, yeah, telling a TE child, oh, just do a Google search. Why waste time reading books? It's an insult. I don't know if you agree with me, Katrina, on that one.
Um,
So,
I was just
what is
saying
it?
that you're any demon. This is interesting. It's in my mind right now. You maybe mistrust other people's intentions, but you've had success with academia before in the past, and you trust what they're going to provide for you versus asking Uncle Joe how to start a business or how to look at a book and say, like, Crush It, for instance, and say, oh, this is how I'm
That
going to do it. And
that is a
so,
good book. I've read it.
okay. And what did you not like about it?
What did I not like about what? About Crush It?
Why is Crush It not good enough?
Oh, he said it's a good book.
No,
I
but
said
why
it's
is
a
it
good
not
book.
good enough?
It is good. Oh, I get what you're asking. Okay. That why don't I just follow Gary Vee's advice and do all this social media platform stuff? Why do I have to go invest 100 grand for an education? Well, it's an itch that I've been wanting to do since I was younger in college. I was actually going to do an MBA after my bachelor's like 10 years ago, but then I found out, oh, you need work experience. So I'm like, okay, true, makes sense. I sat in an MBA class for fun when I was younger, and all the cohorts were talking about their experiences with work. At my company, we did this. Oh, in my business, we did this. And I'm like, I don't have any good stories to share. Well, now I do after working for 5+ years as an engineer for 4 different companies.
I love
It's
that. I don't have any good stories to share. And I argue that ESFPs are the most nostalgic type of all 16.
Huh.
yeah, I'm very nostalgic.
So I just find that incredibly adorable. Okay,
Thank
go
you.
on.
So I didn't feel like I would fit in with these cohorts. It's like, oh, back when I was president of AIAA, it's Aerospace Club. And then everybody's like, oh, back when my business and my executives. And so I'm like, oh, I don't fit in. I better hold off this MBA thing. And then, of course, the pandemic hits and I got bored, movement type. I worked for a startup company for like a month, and then things happened and I was gone. I was laid off. And so 5 months without a job. And well, I just started a new job, actually, a great company in Florida. And shoot, where was I going with this? So I got bored. So I started like reading all these books, and I'm like, well, I better go back to school, I guess. Now's my chance to do an MBA. And my wife's like, I feel like you're doing this just because you're bored and you want something to do.
Mm.
And I'm like, but I want to learn from my cohorts and find out what their experiences are. And I want to share what my experiences are too. And, make a better decision, I guess, with starting a business. I don't know if that's any demon or NI nemesis, NI inferior or what.
It's probably a both because NI inferior is going to be afraid of making the wrong choice and making the wrong decisions, and you're going to have a hard time, pulling the trigger on what you want to do. And so there's a comfort in going to school, like, because they have all the answers.
Right.
And
Yeah.
And so that's something that's there. We got about like 5 or 6 more minutes before Zoom kicks us off for the 3-way. That's our new video. But
Okay.
what are some other demon functions that you guys find particularly interesting when you observe other people?
Well, my wife's SI demon, for example, when I ask her questions about what she's done in the past, she's like, I erased the bad stuff that's happened to me from my mind. I don't want to bring them up. And so I have to like prod from her. I have to probe her like questions just to get any information. I don't know why I like to ask. What?
Doesn't that make her angry?
Oh, I'm sure it does. I don't care. I'll still ask. Like, I'll be honest. I'll ask. Yeah, I don't know. I like to ask people about their past. It's a weird phenomena. I don't know. I thought it was SI when I was learning about MBTI, but I'm thinking it's SE, learning about the experiences of others.
Mm.
Oh no, but definitely very personable people, ESFPs in this way. I love hanging out and observing with any hero, watching like an SP grouping, like at a sports club or something like that, where everyone's like enjoying themselves and the brohood. And I'm just like, so it's like watching wild animals, like I'm like observing because I'm like, why? This is so fascinating to me. And I'm sure it's the same way for you guys watching me, and which is great. And so when I talk about like demon functions that are peculiar, when obviously I'm living with an ENTJ right now, and I deal with FE demon all the time, and it's so funny is that when I try to break down FE to him and tell him, no, this is what is expected of you in this circumstance, this is what is expected of you of this kind of circumstance, and I think with FE trickster, you can tell them that, and they might not do it again, but with demon, they don't even care. And so it's just kind of like, well, that sounds stupid because it doesn't fit with my FI. And so he does little things. And when there was actually C.S. Joseph actually finally released a good meme about ENTJs about using the 25-cent grill. I don't know if you guys saw that one. He went have you guys ever been to Aldi where you put 25 cents in to get a cart?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, and so like it says, TJ says, look, I found this 25-cent grill at Aldi, and they're using the cart to grill meat because it's only ENTJs have a reputation of being very cheap because they're always looking for the best deal and they spend as little money as possible. They're very frugal types, but when they do spend, it's always a big splash. And so people think that because of their splashes, they're like that all the time. No.
Yes, like when I took a road trip with an ENTJ, like he went to buy a car down in southern Utah. And so he asked me if I can use my car to drive over there. I'm like, well, I haven't changed my oil. And he's like, okay, let's go change your oil. And so we went to like a quick place to change the oil. And he actually like negotiated with the oil people. And I was supposed to pay like
That's hilarious.
$60. And somehow I ended up paying 30. I'm like, how did you do that?
They're CEOs. That's what they do.
I just boggled my mind. The ENTJ made me use my car and my gas and stuff, but he negotiated down my price to pay the oil.
They're only able
to. Because that's his way of helping.
How they feel. That's the only reason. We all feel guilty over stupid things that they just do not, and they just go through life making decisions, not worrying about the ethics, and this is why they're the most successful financially of all 16.
Golly, now I'm thinking my dad's ENTJ. Because that sounds like him, like going and bartering. Of course, my dad would just change his own oil. He wouldn't.
Yeah.
It to do it.
I'm gonna talk about like with the ENTJ, for instance. I hope I don't get him in trouble for this, but he also like takes his Tesla, and which he also haggled and dealed and argued with Tesla before he bought it. He'll take it to the hotel nearby his house and plug it into the Tesla charger so he doesn't have to pay for his electricity. And
yeah,
like that's stealing. He's like, no, it's not. It's open for the public parking lot. And he's technically correct. And he's a lawyer, so he knows he can get away with it.
That's funny.
So it's not like he doesn't have the money. It's just like they're always looking for ways to save.
No, okay, that sounds like my dad exactly.
Okay, well, but he could be TJ too. ESTJs are like that as well.
Oh, okay. Well, it's hard to tell with him, but because he has a pragmatic side, you know, like I think, you know, if you're going to step on somebody's toes by going, I don't see an affiliative as more as likely to go park at a parking lot and just charge. Maybe, I don't know.
They'll be the ones telling you not to do it.
Yeah. So my dad has a pragmatic side for sure.
Yeah. We all do.
Yeah, everyone does. And ESTJs also, you have their ISTP side of their mind. And so,
well, geez, I mean, I'm supposed to be triple affiliative, but I've done some things that
I got some issues.
I haven't always asked permission. Okay, people.
We got less than 1 minute, but
okay.
Right there. And so we'll close it off with this. But yeah, the triple affiliative thing I got issues with because TE itself is naturally pragmatic.
Another episode.
And so we got
Socionics calls it pragmatism. TE is pragmatism.
But,
all right, this was
we're
fun.
gonna let it go, and we'll end it here with the demon function like that. We'll talk about this again. We'll probably do this every Friday. Why not?
Why not? Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.